सर्वाणि भूतानि प्रतिभान्ति स्थितानि च यत्रैव उपशमं यान्ति तस्मै सत्यात्मने नमः। ॐ नमस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ ध्यानमूलं गुरुर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरुर्पदम् मन्त्रमूलं गुरुर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरुर्कृपा। ॐ श्रीकृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरि ओम सद्गुरु भगवान की जय, कृष्ण भगवान की जय, सच्चिदानंद भगवान की जय, गीता माता की जय। हरि ओम। मन को कुछ पकड़ा दो, वो बिना सोचे उसको रिपीट करते रहेगा। जतः सर्वाणि भूतानि कहा क्या रटा लगा, थोड़ा इधर उधर हुआ वो अपने काबू करेगा। हाय रे विधाता, क्या तो करे।
ब्रेक लेना चाहिए, कभी कभी बीच में ब्रेक लेना चाहिए।
वो आज 3 क्लास हो गए ना, कोई आज जल्दी
तीन जगह पर उसको 3 बदलना पड़ता है।
अर्थ वही है। फिर
आज गुरु गीता 1.5 घंटा चली।
पता नहीं, मैं सोच रहा हूँ जल्दी खत्म करूँ, पर ऐसा विषय आ जाता है उसको छोड़ा नहीं जा सकता है।
और स्वामी जी माइक आपका नीचे ही रखा रह गया, मैं कई बार इशारा कर रहा हूँ, आप देख ही नहीं रहे हो।
अच्छा, घड़ी चल रहा है।
वो यही रखे रखे उसमें आवाज जा रही थी, जितना उसी से क्लास हो गया। मैं कई बार कोशिश किया,
बेहोश।
आप आँख मूंद के बिल्कुल चल रहा है आपका, मैं डिस्टर्ब नहीं किया, हमको चलने दो।
स्वामी जी आज कॉमेडी क्लास कर रहे हैं।
अरे यार, जब अपने कुत्ते की तरह हंसते, क्या ये क्या कहते हैं रिकॉर्डर। तू तो
हमें एक जोक याद आ गया। वो एक सरदार रोज बस में ऑफिस जाता है, तो शाम को बीवी को आके बोला, आज मैं 5 रुपए बचा लिया। बीवी पूछा कैसे? आज मैं बस में नहीं गया, बस के पीछे भाग के गया, एक्सरसाइज भी हो गया, 5 रुपया भी बच गया। बीवी बोला, अरे बेवकूफ, टैक्सी के पीछे भागता तो 200 रुपए बचता।
और जल्दी भी बहुत
किसके पीछे?
टैक्सी
और बाहर जल्दी पहुंचता।
इसलिए बोला कि आज हम 1 घंटा बसते हैं और हमारा 1.5 घंटा बच गया हम लोग। आज हम भगवान का कृपा ज्यादा हो गया।
बस के पीछे खोल में जा दौड़ा।
फुल मून है ना स्वामी जी।
फुल मून में तो जल्दी
जल्दी नहीं, लेट आए। मैं रोजाना जाकर के देखता हूँ, चंद्रमा नहीं दिखता ये आज, ये कृष्ण पक्ष चल रहा है या सुबह को नहीं दिखता है, शाम को भी नहीं दिखता है। जब मैं बाहर जाता हूँ वो गायब। मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता ये कृष्ण पक्ष है या शुक्ल पक्ष।
वो भी आपका कास्ट है।
आज आज वो देर में उगा इसीलिए दिख जाता है आपको, तो जल्दी उठ गया।
वो भी आपका क्लास टाइमिंग फॉलो
उसको एब्सेंट रोजाना लगेगा, आज ही प्रेजेंट लगेगा।
नहीं
महीना में एक दिन प्रेजेंट लगाता है।
तो सरदार को बोला रिसर्च के लिए मून में भेज रहे थे, 3 सरदार को सिलेक्ट किया इंडिया में मून में रिसर्च करने के लिए। सारा मीडिया आ गया, प्रधानमंत्री राष्ट्रपति सब उनको सी ऑफ किया, वेव ऑफ किया। वो जा रहे आधे रास्ते से लौट गया। सब पूछा क्यों लौट गया, आप तो मून में रिसर्च के लिए भेजा।
अभी अमावस्या है।
तो अमावस्या कांड होगा।
मैं तो सोचा वो शिवानंद आश्रम आ रहा है, मैं दर्शन लेके आता हूँ बोल के गया, वरना मेरे को एब्सेंट गिरेगा बोले।
हे हरी, सरदारों को भी पहले मसला हो भाई, नहीं तो शुरू करना मुश्किल हो जाएगा। हे भगवान, फिकर मत करो भाई, भाइयों और बहनों, फिकर मत करो।
या तो और बड़ा चल रहा है,
हैं?
आपके सामने और बड़ा चल रहा है, नहीं जा रहा है ये लाइट
यूट्यूब
जा रहा है।
वाला
अरे यार, ऑन ऑफ आपके हाथ में।
मुझे आप सिग्नल नहीं दिए।
अरे यार,
all inclusive, awareness is all inclusive। सब कुछ है।
नहीं हम हिंदी बोलते ना, वो समझ नहीं पाता है।
नहीं हो गया समझ आपका, हिंदी लैंग्वेज हो गया, ये कर लिया।
अरे खतरा।
ऑटोमेटिक ट्रांसलेट कर देता है।
वो मगर पीछे सुनने वाला तो समझता है, वो तो नहीं समझता।
ये नहीं समझता है। ये क्या समझेगा हिंदी?
लॉजिकल एंड एनालिटिकल।
यहाँ तो एक से एक किसी को क्या बोले। चलो भाई आ जाओ। हे भगवान, we are discussing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and in that 6th chapter the subject is on meditation, yoga of meditation, and in that Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna the state of a person who has attained yoga, means achieved the final aim, and what is the way to it, and what happens when he reaches the goal. All these are we are discussing. So one who has attained that final goal, who is called a realized soul, who is established in yoga, what will be his indication of that state. So in this way, how can we know? And why do you want to know? To have that state to be our idealism. Then only we shall go behind the goal and we shall find out the path. All these are necessary. So he is explaining the definition and the state of yoga, which is based upon mind and oneness of mind, which is called meditation. And what happens after meditation, what is before meditation, all these we are discussing. Lord Krishna explains everything in detail to Arjuna. And when one attends to that state of equilibrium, what are the symptoms, what are the indications out of which we can understand he is established in the yoga. And the method he just gave in short. The self has to be purified or should be made ready by the self itself to reach that goal. That means rising up in the advancing forward in the path of yoga. One has to help himself. There is no other help which can be obtained from outsiders. Nobody is there to help you. And that same self, when it is under control, purified and in the track, that becomes your friend, your supporter, and the same self it is not controlled by itself, which is derailed from the path, which is uncontrollable, that becomes your disturbing element, your enemy. It will create disturbance, and every now and then it will break your speed, and it will not allow you to advance in the track, so that becomes your enemy. In this way, one should try to control himself by himself. And then we saw Bandhuratma, the sixth sloka yesterday we saw. Bandhuratma tvanastasya yenatmaivatvanaditah anatmamastu satrutve vartetatmeva satruvat. The controlled self is with you as your friend, and uncontrolled self always acts against you as an enemy. And the seventh sloka explained us, Jitatmanah prasantasya paramatma samahitah Sitosna sukha dukkhesu tatha manapamanayoh, whose self is controlled and won over by the self itself, and by that the result is attainment of course, the goal, absolute equilibrium, that is also known as peace, and that is possible when the self merges in the absolute. That means it loses its identity that we saw yesterday, and as such, he will not experience any pairs of opposites, that is cold or heat, or good or bad, all these. And it will have a balanced mind. It will be only a seer, witness, but it will not be the enjoyer. And he will not care for its glories or its criticism. And then we were discussing Jnana Vijnana Triptapa Kutastho Vijitendriya Yuktaha Ityuchate Yogi Samalostasma Kanchana. Such a person who has attained the final goal, that means the absolute equilibrium, eternal equilibrium. Such a person, how he is said to be, how he is defined to be, how he is recognized by the other admirers or followers or seers. That means the other mumukshus, seekers, how do they look up on that person? They understand him as to be established on yoga. And how he has attained it? Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, whose self is ever satisfied, ever contented with the knowledge and special knowledge. What is that knowledge and special knowledge? Vijnana. Vijnana is something higher knowledge or special knowledge or extraordinary knowledge. That is called Vijnana. We call it in English science. That is thorough knowledge. And Jnana, of course, is common, ordinary knowledge. So we shall see it. The yogi who is satisfied with the knowledge and the wisdom, here the Vijnana is termed as wisdom, that is of the self. Who has conquered the senses, and to whom a clod of earth, a piece of stone, and gold are the same. Such a person is known. By whom? By them who wants to know such a person. Is said to be harmonized person. Harmonized means who has attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi we have discussed so many times, where there will not be any identity of existence. Existence is there, but it cannot be identified by any way. Existence exists without its identification. Like your guests who come at midnight and they leave the ashram at early morning, leaving no trace of their identity in the reception. salutation to them. Without leaving any trace of their identities. I always remember when Lakshmana was asked to leave Sita in the dense forest ordered by Lord Rama, because he had to be renounced, because people, the subjects are criticizing her. She was for a long time in the premises of the king of demons, Ravan, and nobody knows what happened to her. It is unknown. So Rama went and killed Ravana and brought Sita. Of course, Rama asked her to enter into fire to prove he is spotless, he is pure, full chest. That was done by Sita. And of course some other meaning was there. Sita hid herself at the time before Ravan comes to kidnap her. And the fire god hides her in its womb and gives out the impression of Sita with a form, that is duplicate Sita. And that was kidnapped by Ravana. That Rama knows, and that's how he, leaving her alone, he chased the golden deer. It was, of course, a play, a drama. Anyway, to bring her out of the lap of fire god, he ordered to have such experimental something, drama. That was different, but when in the end Lakshmana, because the people were criticizing character of Sita and the spies came and reported to Lord Rama, so Rama decided, I shall leave her in the forest without her knowledge. Lakshmana was ordered to do so. Lakshmana went with Sita, with persuading her with an idea that since long you wanted to see the forest and the monks, ascetics living in forest, because you had to pass 14 years in the jungle. You had some liking to have darshan of ascetics in the jungle. So now is the time, and come with me. I shall show you the jungle and give you darshan of ascetics. So Sita was ready. Sita was brought by Lakshmana to the jungle, and when she was tired and they stopped the chariot to have a little rest, Sita was drowsing and fell into sleep. At that time Lakshmana wrote a note on some paper leaves and put it in a place where Sita can get up and see, and left her alone in the forest and came back hidingly. So what happens, how to hide? There will be the tracks, the footprints of the chariot, how to do it. So the chariot drivers were trained not to have any symptom, footprints left behind. That is how they were trained to drive the chariot. And Lakshman did it. No trace of any prints of the wheels. So Sita got up and could not find where Lakshman has gone, in which direction and why and where. So she was helpless, hopeless and weeping. And by that time some disciples of Valmiki were collecting something from the woods for yajna and other things in Valmiki's ashram. They could trace her out and reported to Valmiki, and Valmiki came to take her to ashram. He knew she was pregnant. It was known to Valmiki, it is all drama of the time. So everything was done afterwards. So that deleting the footprints, no identity should be left behind. This is how the great dacoits, they do dacoit. No handprints, they will not touch anything without gloves. They will not leave any symptoms. They had come inside the room for the CID to find out who here been there here. They will wear some socks, they will wear some gloves, they will not touch anything, and whatever they do, all the garbage they take in their own pockets, nothing will be left behind. Even then the CIDs, they trace out somehow or other. So, entering into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the self leaves no trace of identification of it behind. That is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. No way you can find out where the self is disappeared. By no means, no CID can trace the self out. And after Nirvikalpa Samadhi, what happens, nobody knows. And I have the right example of honeymoon night. No entrance inside the door. Everything is out. Prakriti Purush, they become one. There is no question of duality. So jnana is a paroksha jnana. Here it is meant as the indirect knowledge. What we collect, that we used to say informative knowledge. Those informations we collect from the scriptures, from the words of great people. That is called paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge, or theoretical knowledge you can say, from the study of scriptures. Whereas vijnana is vishesh jnana, some special knowledge obtained by experience. Aparoksha jnana, it is said. Aparoksha, direct. There is no indirect method to have it. Informative knowledge or theoretical knowledge, which is called indirect knowledge, it is only knowledge. It will not help you till end. Of course, it helps from the names and forms, from the informations collected from the names and forms. They help you to reach the name and form exactly, and then you have to have direct knowledge of the object, the absolute matter, which is really a matter, and there you have to lose your identity and be one with it. That is called direct full knowledge. Where yesterday we were discussing, one gets completeness. He feels the whole totality of itself, where nothing remains which again to be achieved. So it is the last achievement. That is called direct knowledge, and it is had with only union, fully oneness with the object. That is called Dhyana. That is direct knowledge of the self through self-realization, spiritual experience or anubhuti, anubhav, and that is also said in different terms, many terms. Some say it is sambit. Bit means knowledge, sambit means vigyan, thorough knowledge of the self. Sambit which is non-changeable. And we have used a word kutastha. Jnana vijnana triptapta. So he will be fully satisfied, fully contented with the indirect knowledge and then direct knowledge, experiential knowledge, and then he is called Vijitendriya, the conqueror of the senses. Senses include also the mind. It is the sixth sense. Sometimes it is identified as the sixth sense. Mind also, because it is always with the senses, director of the senses and holder of the senses, controller of the senses. Without the mind, the senses are good for nothing. So in that way it is known as the sense, and that is called the sixth sense. Some people say it is to be intuition. Of course, intuition is a little superior mind that is concerned with intellect. So in that way, when that person has conquered the senses fully, and he is called kutastha. What is that? Kutas, kuta and kutastha. This kuta sabda also we have find in many contexts in different scriptures. In in Sakta Upasana, they recognize the supreme power to be Kutastha. They name it Kutastha. Kutastha means on the top of it, which is never changing. All other situations are subject to change. The paths can be many, but the peak will be one. So the last peak and the angle's last point, that is called kutastha of the triangle. Kuta, the last peak, above which there is nothing, no achievement or no height is left. That is the highest peak. That is how Kuta is understood. Its real sense is which is unchangeable, which is ever fixed. That is called Kuta. And so Kutastha means the absolute truth also, the Supreme Self, Paramatma. That is also Kutastha, because after that there is no height to achieve. And similarly the Parasakti, after that nothing is known. Everything is only in experience, nothing is expressible. So that is also called Kuta, Kutastha, the supreme power. And such, thus Kuta means which is unchangeable. And here we can take Kuta as the unhealed of the blacksmith, on which they put the all hot iron and go on hammering. The iron changes its shape and size and its heat. Everything is changing over it, but the basement never changes. In that sense also the basement, the last holder or the substratum which never changes, that is also understood as Kuta. The deepest and the highest, both are called Kuta. So Kutastha means unchangeable. Let it be anything. In that sense it is used in common literature. Kuta. Trikud Parvat, our goddess, Jai Mata Di. What is that? Are in Himachal? Vaishnav Devi. Three peaks are there, and the last peak where we find the cave, where three only lingas are found. Three lingas. They are the Kutastha. Kut means the highest peak. Trikud Parvat, that's why it is said Trikut, which has three peaks. So here we see that Kutastha word Kutastha. Kutastha means changeless like the anvil. Various kinds of iron pieces are hammered and shaped on the unhealed, but the unhealed remains unchanged. Even so, the yogi remains unshaken or unchanged or unaffected, though he comes in contact with these sense objects which are ever changing. So he is called Kutastha. Then such a person, such a yogi is known as Kutastha. He attains that unchanging state. So he is called Kutastha. Kutastha is another name of Brahman also, this absolute self, the silent witness of the mind. Mind changes, but the self never changes. The witness, silent witness. In this way, the person who attains the highest, he is ever satisfied, after which he never feels to get anything. So, ever contented, that is otherwise known as bliss, eternal happiness without any change. And such a person is unchangeable, he is called Kutastha, and by itself all the senses are under control. And he is called harmonized person, yuktaha iti uchate. And such a person will have equal vision. He will not find any difference between a clod of soil and a stone and a piece of gold. You know the story of our revered Paramahansa Dev, Ramakrishna Paramahansa Dev. When he was practicing all this in his childhood itself, he went near he was very much perturbed by the mind's finding out it is valuable, it is invaluable, it is good, it is bad. He was absolutely dejected by these thoughts of the mind. He was not much aged and he was not much educated also, but his dispassion found no bound, top dispassion, and he was much perturbed, disturbed, and he was out of anger, annoyance on the self itself, the senses and the mind. He went to river bank, river Padma, Hubli, and sat there. He had found some piece of gold somewhere in the temple. He was worshipping Mother Kali in Dakshineswari temple. There is so much golds, and people are attracted towards gold. What for I also cannot understand till now, why gold is such attractive. Better glitter we can get from pieces of broken glasses. Why gold is so valuable? Of course, scientifically it is good for health, very good for health. That's why they wear golden rings and golden chains, and the gold should go in. It cures many a disease. And golden bhasma, it is very, very effective medicine. So in that way, gold is valuable. Anyway, our Paramahansa Deva was much dejected from these ideas, this is valuable, this is gold, this is this. And he went to riverside, took a piece of gold in one hand, and other hand he took a little clay, and then he taught his own mind, your mind. This is called clay. This is called gold. From gold we get this earth, and from earth we get from the mines we get the gold. Gold is earth, earth is gold, gold is earth, earth is gold, earth gold, gold earth. Both are same. He threw both to Ganga and said, go forever. Don't come to my mind. It is all the same. This is how he could conquer over the differences between gold and soil. And he used to say, one who has left the attachment for Kamini and Kanchan, the lust and the gold, wealth, he has done half of his sadhana. Nothing is left more. Just little trial will do. If two are controlled or rejected, renounced from the heart of hearts, that is, he did himself, and then only he taught to people. These are the two great bondage in the life. Not only for sadhaks, for common people also, they go behind these two only, name and fame, or asanas, three kinds of desires. This is based upon these two things, wealth and lust, desires. So such a person established on the truth, on the self, will have equal vision. We have discussed on equal vision, samatvam yoga uchyate. In a different way, such a person will not find any difference between what was that sloka? Surinchaiva swapagecha panditaha samadarshinaha. He finds no difference between higher class people or the animals or the lowermost class of beings. He finds no difference. He has equal vision. And here also we discuss the state of equal vision. He will not find any difference between the wealth of high standard or low standard, nothing. His mind is never perturbed by the attraction of such objects which are great for the senses and mind. So tomorrow we shall see the next sloka. Suhrin mitran udasinam madhyastha dvesa bandhusu sadhusvapi cha papesu samabuddhiri visishyate. Again and hammering on the same point, how a person with equal vision will behave. Of course, he will behave with different kinds of higher wealth or lower value of objects, and still more, he will have no difference between the friends and enemies, and no difference between a good saint, higher ascetics, or the greatest sinners. No difference he will find. That is called equal vision. Mind gets, it is due to the attainment of the mind of that non-changing equilibrium state. Then only he will not find any difference in the worldly objects or values. Tomorrow we shall see. He who is of the same mind to the good-hearted friends, enemies, the indifferent, mediocres, the neutrals, the hateful people or situation, the festives, the righteous persons and the unrighteous sinners, that person excels, he is top of the beings. Tomorrow we shall discuss it in little clear way. Hari Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. सद्गुरु भगवान की जय, सच्चिदानंद भगवान की जय, कृष्ण भगवान की जय, गीता माता की जय।